Welcome to Saulcast, where we're talking about Better Call Saul Season 4, Episode 11, titled Limbo. This is our instant take. We just watched the episode, so these will be our raw, instant reactions. This was a spookier episode, so before we get started, you'll want to grab your candy, turn off the lights, and let's get into it. All right, Adam, we both knew from the beginning of this episode which of us was going to be kicking things off because all season, everyone's been laughing at me. Every time I thought, oh, maybe Jesse's going to show up. Oh, that's ridiculous, Gil. Well, who is laughing now?
When you're right, you're right. I feel pretty foolish all those times I made fun of you, but...
Yeah, and when this episode first started, I couldn't tell that it was black and white because I didn't know if I just thought maybe it was nighttime. But once I realized it was black and white and I knew it took place in the Gene timeline, I was like, oh my God, that's the first time we've had a season with two Gene scenes. And then it turned out the whole episode was in the Gene timeline.
That was the craziest part. Like, did you think for a moment that the entire episode would be in that timeline?
Well, I thought eventually we would get some episodes that were fully, post Breaking Bad. And I even had a feeling that it might happen this season, especially when they had that flash forward to that scene that took place during Breaking Bad. But it completely blew my mind. I mean, even though I sort of was thinking it might happen, it definitely wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's been true like throughout all of season 4 is things seem to be happening sooner than we thought they would.
Right, we're hurtling towards Saul Goodman. And then in this episode, they freaking barrel past Saul Goodman to, I don't even know how to describe this episode, but let's start with Jesse, right? He's at the gravestone, and when you saw the back of that gravestone before the camera sort of panned around and you saw the name on it, who did you think he was there visiting?
Well, so Jesse was kind of like, it was sort of dark, so I wasn't even sure it was him. And it was definitely unexpected. So I actually thought maybe I was watching The Walking Dead or something.
Have you ever seen an episode of Walking Dead?
Yeah, but it was like season 1.
Yeah. Well, Mike Ehrmantraut. And they don't waste any time. You see it's Mike Ehrmantraut. Then you see Jesse cut his hand open. Blood starts pouring out. And then before the commercial, Mike comes. He pops out of the grave.
Yeah, they did that classic thing where you see the hand burst out of the dirt.
Yeah, cliche. It's a cliche under any circumstances. But when you've got you've got 4 seasons of a show that's only ever really hinted at the supernatural. It's never gone full supernatural. Then for them to just come right out and do this, mind blown when it was Gene timeline, mind blown when it's Jesse, and then mind completely eradicated when Mike Ehrmantraut comes back alive. And then the reason why Jesse brought him back, why don't you, I'll let you tell this one.
Yeah, so I didn't quite, it seemed like a convoluted kind of way to achieve his goals. Right?
And Mike is right down to business, by the way. He comes out of the grave. What are we doing, Jesse? And then Jesse explains it all, right? Todd's back.
Yeah.
And Jesse explains it in, like you said, convoluted. Mike's like, what are we doing? And Jesse says, we're going Nazi hunting.
And Mike's like, we're going to Argentina. Damn it, I screwed that up.
We're going to Argentina.
That's where all the ex-Nazis escaped to.
Oh, okay. Well, they're going after Todd. He's also back.
Yeah, and he won't stop killing kids.
Yeah.
And what I didn't get, they didn't explain how Todd came back. So that makes me wonder, like, did someone revive him? Or maybe he didn't actually die?
Well, they established in this scene. No, I think he's definitely dead. I mean, he has that kind of pale look to him, similar to what Mike had, and the kind of, every once in a while when the light catches his eye, you can see it glow red, which they sort of established with Mike. That's to tell that they're, zombies or whatever you would call them. So in this scene, they established that characters clearly have the ability to raise the dead, doing this blood ritual. So I have to assume that there's somebody else out there that brought back Todd. They never actually reveal who it was. That could be something that they come back to in a later episode.
Yeah, that's a loose end they'll definitely have to tie up.
Yeah.
So next we saw this crazy scene where, okay, again, it's like kind of, we see like what looks basically like a zombie, but you can even tell just by the outline, it's Gus, like the perfect upright posture. He doesn't have that typical zombie gait where he's dragging his feet behind him, but he is wearing a cloak or the dark robes and a hood.
Right, fedora too.
But yeah, that I wasn't expecting. And half his face is gone, as you'd expect. Mm-hmm. He's very calmly just approaching Gene. He wakes Gene up in the middle of the night, and he's just kind of hovering right at the foot of his bed. And he introduces himself. Turns out he's Satan himself.
Right. We've been debating all season about Gus, right? Is he evil? We were saying that we keep learning. This whole season, we keep peeling the onion back on Gus, right? When we find out about the Coati, we sort of learn that he's this evil guy. It turns out he's Satan. He's the devil.
He's the very embodiment of evil itself.
And Gene, well, first off, I have to say I feel stupid for not seeing this coming.
Right, they kept hinting at it. And, I even heard rumors because I heard there were, like, leaked photos from the set.
Right.
But I didn't really believe it.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff about this episode that you would, if you didn't see it in context, you would think it sounds ridiculous. Like, you would be like, there's no way they would do that on this show.
Yeah, but they executed it so well that I didn't even need suspension of disbelief. Like it all fit right together perfectly for me, and I'm super excited to see what happens next season. Mm-hmm. So Gus is there, and Gene is scared out of his mind to learn that, first of all, that Gus is back, that he's Satan, and he has a job for Gene.
Yeah, but before you get to the job, how funny was it when Gene realizes what's going on and he's freaking out and he says, "It was Ignacio." It's the devil.
Yeah. You think first of all, he probably knows whatever it is that you're talking about. You're not getting anything by him.
Right.
And also I think he's there for something a little more serious.
Yeah.
Right, so he has this job for Gene, and it turns out that they actually have Miranda rights in hell. Did you know this?
No, but we're about to find out the one character who would know it. Once you know who it is, you're like, of course that would be the person that knows.
So
the legal system in hell.
The deceased Chuck, brother of Gene, is an expert on the Luciferian legal system.
Right.
So he was able to use Satan's own laws against him. And he said, no, I know my Miranda rights, and I'm allowed to be appointed a lawyer. Because it turns out Chuck was on trial.
Right. And who, in what other show, in what other character would you see appeal their sentence, their judgment for hell? And then what's great about this storyline is the irony it sets up, where Jimmy, who has been living in the shadow of his older brother Chuck, who hated Chuck, and now he's forced to defend him, because that's how it works in hell. It's just like in the real world, public defender. So Jimmy now needs to defend Chuck because he was damned after committing suicide, and the only case that Jimmy can make is that Chuck's suicide wasn't his fault. that Chuck only committed suicide because Jimmy made him do it, by sort of setting up that whole situation, where he lost his career.
Right. So Jimmy, now Gene, first of all, he has to put his lawyer hat back on. I think he's probably a little bit out of practice. And on top of that, he has to defend Chuck. He has to take the heat and actually claim responsibility for Chuck's own suicide because, as we all know, suicide is a sin. That's what landed him there in the first place.
And then if it turns out and it's proven that Jimmy caused Chuck's suicide, then the sin transfers to Jimmy, and then it's guaranteed that once he dies, he goes to hell, and then Chuck gets to go to heaven.
Right, and there's no way Chuck didn't know that. And so he was setting Jimmy up, or he was setting Gene up for eternal damnation.
Right.
Which just, to me, seals the deal that Chuck's kind of a jerk.
Yeah. Even in the afterlife, he's a piece of work.
Yeah, and the saddest thing was Gene, he's out of practice. He's not too familiar with their legal code anyway. He didn't know this.
Yeah.
He didn't know what would happen to him.
Right,
Although
right.
I did think it was a nice touch how they made a point of showing that he didn't actually need like a ticket to park in hell or anything like that. They have free parking at the court in hell, but they don't on Earth. Can you believe this?
And he had that kind of smirk when he drove in.
Yeah.
There was the one scene we have to talk about, even though I don't really see how it connected to the rest of the episode, but I'm still glad that they had it in there. Nacho, he's in heaven. So even though, up till episode 10, as far as we know, he was still alive, it seems like somewhere down the road he's going to die in this series. But he seems happy. He's in heaven and he's doing karaoke with Gail.
Yeah. And as funny as it sounds, at the time, it was just heartwarming to me. It was like I don't know, it was touching.
Did you, I'll admit it, that there's been a few times this season, specifically, where I came close to tears. But the only time I outright cried was when the camera pans over from the two of them doing karaoke, and you just see it pans over to the audience, and you see Werner just with this kind of goofy grin on his face watching them.
Yeah, and he just gives a nice clap at the end for them.
Yeah. What was the song? I forget what it was called. Is that I will always love you?
Yeah, and I don't know. Gail and Nacho, I never thought I would see them in the same scene, but they had good chemistry. They harmonized well in the song. It was fun.
Yeah, I think. I hope we get. I mean, I don't know how likely it is because the scene felt so disconnected from the rest of the episode. It sort of felt like they just put it in there for fans. I hope we get to see the two of them interacting more in future episodes.
Yeah, I would like that.
We've got to talk about Walter. You always were a son of a bitch. Come here, pal.
Yeah.
And then you assume, so this is Zombie Mike, resurrected by Jesse. You assume that he's hugging Zombie Walt, right? I assume that Walt was dead. He somehow came back. He was alive. He survived the gunshot in the finale of Breaking Bad.
Right. Which makes sense because it's not like he had that bullet in him for that long, so he wouldn't have bled out that quickly. We see like the police or SWAT team storm in at the end. I don't think he was lying there for that long. So they could have saved him.
This is one of those shows that never likes to leave a death ambiguous. Right? When someone's dead, you know it.
Yeah.
And so I mean we should have realized, with Walt, you don't actually see him die. There's no confirmation. You see him dying, not dead. So we should not have been shocked to see him back alive in this episode.
Yeah, and it's good to see that there's no hard feelings between Zombie Mike and Walt. I think Mike has come to terms with it. And Walt seems kind of like he was changed by the whole experience too.
Yeah, he's definitely in a better place in this episode when we check back in with him.
Yeah. But I mean, all these characters are still there, and like this was such a radical shift and everything that like next season is just going to be insane.
Well, I wonder next season if they're going to continue in this timeline or do they go back to Jimmy Saul?
How painful
timeline?
would that be to not find out anything else about this for most of next season? Like maybe that becomes just a way that they cap off each season. So it could be we have to wait till the season 5, like season finale.
Oh. And if they do a season 5 that gets split in 2, like with Breaking Bad, it might be 2 years before we see the continuation of this.
Wow. And let's not forget, we did get to see Kim at the end too. And so they did multiple time jumps. It was hard to follow, but basically Gene succeeds in pleading for Chuck's case. And so Chuck actually does get released from hell, and he's allowed to ascend to heaven, right? That's how I interpreted what happened.
I think that was the intent. Yeah,
that was established. But then we see Gene, he's back, he succeeded, and he gets a knock on the door from Kim, who, mind blown, right? Because this whole time we assumed something's going to happen. Jimmy and Kim will be over. Like, even at season 4, episode 10, it seemed like at that point, like the distance between them had grown too much.
Yeah.
And now, even through all of Breaking Bad, and then he becomes Gene, Kim knocks on his door. No introduction, no hi Gene or hi Jimmy, remember me? She just says, "Come with me. We're going to hell."
Yeah.
And they didn't even say
cool.
Yeah, and it just said, created by Vince Gilligan.
Yeah, and she had like guns strapped to her, grenades, eye patch. I mean, she looked like what was it, Charlize Theron from like Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, and she had like a wooden stake, like shaped like a cross.
Yeah, which makes you think there's maybe vampires out there too.
Yeah. So that was just crazy. She looked so badass. That was awesome. And why do you think they're going to hell? Because she didn't say.
Yeah, so I have a kind of off-the-wall theory, but so we know that Jimmy is damned at this point. He gets to live out the natural course of his life, but once he dies, it's a guarantee he's going to hell.
Right.
I think that Kim has maybe found some way to break that curse. So they're going to go to hell. Maybe they have to find Gus and bargain with him. Maybe they have to kill Gus, like re-kill Gus if you can even kill Satan. I don't even know if that's possible.
Yeah. Wow. Who knew like the scope of this show could become so huge?
Yeah.
We could see an all-out war between heaven and hell next season.
Oh my God. I obviously couldn't wait for next season. Now I'm like, I will literally murder someone to see next season right now.
Yeah. Yeah, so would I.
I'm Gil.
I'm Adam.
And this is the Saulcast Spooktacular.
Blah.
All right, Adam. It's almost Halloween. So to get into the spirit, we've got a few fun segments for tonight's Saulcast Spooktacular. I've got my costume on. Why don't you tell people what I'm wearing here?
You've got one of those cool like Spider-Man hoodies where you can actually put the hood over your head and zip it all the way up so it turns into like a Spider-Man mask and suit for your upper body.
I wanted you to say that I was wearing a hazmat suit, like the Breaking Bad costume. But this isn't my costume. I just wear this regularly.
Yeah.
Right,
you look just like Jesse, as he's about to start doing a cook.
Yeah, exactly. All right, enough messing around, Adam. We're here to talk about conspiracy theories, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad fan theories that might be true.
Yeah, and some of these are pretty bone-chilling. Yeah,
we try to gear towards conspiracy theories that fit the Halloween theme, spookier theories. Why don't you kick it off with your conspiracy theory?
All right. So mine isn't necessarily the spookiest.
Wait, and you didn't make this up, right? This is an existing fan theory.
This is an existing
out there in
fan
the world.
Theory. Yep.
Okay.
In fact, it's one that one of the actors, has even potentially confirmed.
All right, let's hear it.
But like I said, it's not the spookiest, but it is disturbing.
Okay.
All right. Now, who do you think is Walt Jr.'s father?
Are you serious? So I didn't find whatever theory you're talking about, but as a joke, I was going to make up a fan theory and say that Walt Jr.'s father is Jimmy McGill.
That's not a bad theory.
Wait, is it Ted?
Interesting. Yeah, how'd you know?
Because that's the only person we're aware of that Walt's wife, Skylar, might have had an affair with.
Right. So, yeah, the theory says that Ted Beneke is Walt Jr.'s father.
That's not spooky, though.
But it's disturbing. Wait, and there's some evidence, too.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, in Season 2, Episode 7 of Breaking Bad, Ted asks Skylar, "How's Walt Jr. doing?" And Skylar says that he's growing well.
Okay.
And you know what Ted says?
What?
He says, "Good genes." And then he starts chuckling to himself.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That happened in the show?
That happened.
So if you gun to your head, would you wait, is there any other evidence or is that the only thing?
Well, and they have a sexual history together.
Right.
Not to mention, I don't think Walt Jr. looks. He looks more like Ted to me than he does like Walt. He's got like the dark hair, and Walter White doesn't have that.
Yeah, it does.
He has like lighter brown hair.
Yeah, it's true.
Walt Jr., his hair's almost black. And Ted's hair, I think, was a little darker than Walter's.
Let me ask you, gun to your head, if you had to say yay or nay if this theory is true, would you say it's true?
Why do you have to ruin all the fun?
Because I'm about to show you how bad you are at your job. We had to find a conspiracy theory that was spooky. And not only did you pick a Breaking Bad theory, which is not a Better Call Saul theory, I'm going to show you the theory I found for Better Call Saul that is... It's so perfect. It's going to show you how bad a job you did picking this.
I had some other potential theories, but they had even less evidence, so I couldn't go with them. Okay, I had one that said that Mike and Jesse are the same person, and that Mike is a time traveler. All right, I like that one, but again, that one was even more of a stretch.
That was actually my other idea. So I wanted to have at least one theory that was totally made up by me. And the other one I was going to do is that Walt Jr.
Wait.
What?
I didn't finish.
Oh, really? Okay, go on.
Here, R.J. Mitt, the actor for Walt Jr., has given an official response.
Oh, okay.
He said, "You never know."
All right, let me tell you my theory. This is going to blow your mind.
Okay.
Jimmy McGill / Saul Goodman is dead. The black and white flash forwards are purgatory. Think about it. There's evidence for this.
Right, like purgatory is sort of this limbo area. And in Gene's timeline, everything's black and white. The color is gone. It's neither positive nor negative.
So I have some flimsy evidence, and then I have some strong evidence. We'll start with the flimsy evidence. And I'll credit this to, I'm seeing this on dorkly.com is where I'm taking this from. The flimsy evidence is that in Breaking Bad, Saul Goodman says to Walt, "If I'm lucky, a month from now, best case scenario, I'm managing a Cinnabon in Omaha." How likely is it that after him outlining that that's his worst case scenario, best case scenario, that's literally what ends up happening? It's too coincidental. There has to be supernatural involvement.
It's the only explanation.
Now, the most solid evidence. In the black and white world at the Omaha, you see a coffee machine. And if you zoom in real close, it says Omaha 200 years. Omaha was incorporated in 1857. 200 years would place this in 2057. Let me ask you this. Does Gene look 47 years older than he did in Breaking Bad?
If so, he looks pretty good for his age.
It's purgatory. He's dead.
Case closed. Wait, but what's with the coffee maker?
It's just weird. It's like if you were in purgatory, you would just have weird... it would be like the real world, but there's just some weird stuff where you just start to notice, like, that seems off.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Right. And also, another thing that's off about it is you would think working at a Cinnabon would be awesome. Just the smell alone would put a smile on your face. And yet no one working there seems that happy.
No.
They're all waiting for moral judgment.
Exactly. It's purgatory.
Ooh. What if Kim gets him there? Basically, she pleads Jimmy down. She pleads Gene down from eternal damnation to purgatory. They make a plea bargain with Gus. Satan.
Oh. Yeah,
it would fit right in, right?
It would fit. I mean, so if you take this real fan theory and try and combine it with our pretend episode from earlier.
Wait, what? Go on.
Wait, are we still keeping up the charade of the episode?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right. I've got more theories if you want them.
Yes.
Or we can go to the next segment.
No,
okay, let's do one more at least. Walt rented a car from the X-Files.
I read this one.
This one's not a theory. This is confirmed by Vince Gilligan.
Yeah. He rented it from the X-Files.
Well, all right, to clarify, there was a car rental company that was in the X-Files, and that same rental company existed in Breaking Bad.
What was it called?
I didn't write that down. I don't think that was really relevant.
Yeah,
it was just the same name.
We'll cut that.
Okay.
That makes me wonder if there's any other... There must be more X-Files references because Vince Gilligan wrote a lot of episodes for them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably more references out there, but...
Do you think this is some kind of like... do you think they occur in the same universe?
Well, actually, that's a good segue. Yes, I do think they take place in the same universe. And they also take place in the same universe. Walking Dead. Daryl is seen with blue meth. That's not a theory. That's a real thing.
Give some context.
Well, Daryl is a character in The Walking Dead, and he's looking through his brother's bag in the second season, and he finds a little stash of blue meth. And the only place we've ever seen blue meth is in Breaking Bad. So the implication is that Walking Dead is a sequel to Breaking Bad.
Sequel, or at least it's happening at some point in the future.
Right. And further, the same character, Daryl, is talking to another character, Beth, and he tells her, so we've already established that his brother has blue meth. Where does his brother get it from? He says that my brother's old dealer is a janky little white guy who says, I'm going to kill you, bitch.
Really?
Sounds
he said
like Jesse. Yeah, that actually happened in the show.
That's definitely Jesse.
And then RJ Mitty also commented on this theory. He said, I would love it because my character is still alive. I'd love to fight some zombies.
Wait, so this is Walt Jr.?
Yeah, the actor.
So the theory is that Walt Jr. is the one who sold the meth.
No, the theory is that Jesse sold the meth. The Walt Jr. actor is just arbitrarily commenting on the theory.
Oh, and just saying I like that it means I'm still alive, just in the sense that
yeah, I don't know why he
the
said
universe
that
has continued, that the universe didn't end when the show ended.
I guess.
All right.
I don't know why
he's full of unhelpful comments on these conspiracy theories.
You never know.
Yeah. You might as well substitute the first comment he made for this one too. But wait, do you know the best part of this theory?
What?
You didn't know? You don't know the next part?
No, I stopped reading at that part. Oh wait, the blue meth caused the zombie apocalypse.
Yes, that's the theory. Walt, not only did Walt inadvertently lead to the events that led to the worst commercial airliner event in history, he also caused a global zombie epidemic and apocalypse with his messed up meth making.
So have there been any crazy theories like this about Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul that ended up being true? Let's play a game.
Yeah, let's go on.
All right, let's go to games. I have a really fun game here that's going to get you in the Halloween spirit and just give us some good memories of Better Call Saul, you know?
Yeah.
So, Adam, I want you to close your eyes. And if you're listening to this, I want you to close your eyes. If you're driving, pull over, close your eyes.
Yeah.
I want you to imagine that you just got an invitation in the mail from Jimmy and Kim Wexler. And they're inviting you to their house for a Halloween party. And you get there, and all your favorite characters are there. And you got Mike, Jimmy, Lalo. They're all there. They're all dressed up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what costumes they're all wearing. I'm going to name a costume, and you need to tell me which character is wearing that costume.
Okay.
And then I have reasoning behind all of these.
Okay, so there are right and wrong answers.
Right. And I didn't tell you all the characters that are there. I named a few. But just it's the popular characters, you know?
All right.
Are you ready?
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it, except they're not wearing any costumes yet.
Okay, I'm going to name a costume. Monica Lewinsky.
Okay, and I forget, is this just Better Call Saul characters?
They have to have appeared in Better Call Saul.
Okay.
But there's nobody on this list that was in Breaking Bad and not Better Call Saul.
Okay. And another question is, how peripheral are the characters that we're including, or is it mostly main characters that get a lot of screen time?
Main characters that get a lot of screen time.
Okay.
I mentioned Lalo, all right, so he's kind of new, but he's in there too.
I don't think he's Monica Lewinsky, although it would be funny.
Mm-hmm.
My first thought was Kim, but that's just because she's a female.
Right.
I have a feeling that that's not the one you would have chosen. Let me think. Which one? I'm trying to think of which one of them is, you know what? I think it's Jimmy. I think he's got that kind of sense of humor.
Boom! It's exactly what I thought.
Yes.
I was trying to think, what would Jimmy wear? And I thought, he'd try and be a little silly. He struck me when I thought back to high school. A lot of the kind of goofball kids, they would dress up as women.
Yeah.
And Monica Lewinsky was one. And so I thought Jimmy would do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see him kind of going around the party, like trying to get people to comment on his costume.
Yeah. Hey, look at me.
He's going around with a cigar. What are you supposed to do with this?
Because he does have kind of like that toilet humor. So
he definitely does. And Kim is probably embarrassed the whole time. But she also finds it a little funny.
Right. Later on she would have made some innuendo.
Yeah.
Like after everyone left. Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, okay. This one's easy.
Yeah. Let's maybe throw you softball.
It's gonna be Gus.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, because half his face is missing. So he's wearing the mask on the side that's blown off.
Right, because as we established, he's not exactly alive. He's not really dead. He's Satan.
Yeah.
Vampire.
Who's a vampire? Okay. Let me think. My first thought was Mike, but I gotta think a little more. It
Why
doesn't
Mike?
really make too much
Why
sense.
were you thinking Mike?
I think because he's kind of pale. It's sort of a classic costume. I wouldn't expect Mike to be too creative. And I think, is he a vampire generic or is he Dracula?
He's got vampire teeth.
Right, so that's what I was thinking. Is like it's sort of an easy one because he just buys these little plastic things and he puts them in his mouth. All right, so I'm gonna stick with Mike.
Yeah, and that's exactly the same reasoning. I thought he would be lazy. He would just do it because, someone's making him do it. So he'd grab those cheap plastic Party City vampire teeth.
Yeah. And he keeps trying to talk, and it's really annoying.
The spittle flying everywhere. I'm a vampire. Look at me, Jimmy. Come here, Monica.
Oh, no. Mike can't tell the difference anymore.
Hitler.
Adolf Hitler? Oh, that's a good one. I'm good at this, though. I'm doing well so
because
far.
you're not only getting them right, but my justifications, you're getting all of them right on.
Adolf Hitler. Ooh. I'm thinking Lalo.
Yes.
Just because of how charismatic he is.
He's charismatic, and he would want to do
mustache.
something offensive that pisses people off.
Yeah. I'm seeing him just goose-stepping around the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got the mustache, so you could just trim it down.
Yeah.
And also he's got is his hair kind of slicked back? I feel like he could kind of do something with that.
He's got long hair, so he could totally pull off the look, and he would love it.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin.
Was this coordinated with Lalo? Let's see. Ooh, this is a good one. I'm thinking Kim.
Yes. Oh my
Charlie
God.
Chaplin's always wearing those suits, and like Kim, Kim's got her suits on, and also it's sort of she always has her hair back. Like I don't know, she could wear that derby hat. I can just picture it.
You're like reading my mind. How did you get Charlie Chaplin as Kim?
I don't know. It was it's a safe costume. It's a classic kind of thing. It's not anything edgy, but it's also not generic.
So for this one, my reasoning really didn't make a whole lot of sense. I kind of backed into my reasoning afterwards. I think I remember Pam Beasley in The Office dressing up as Charlie Chaplin.
That does sound familiar.
And Kim kind of reminded me of Pam. But then I thought about it. If she's into the old movies, she'd probably want to. And then because Jimmy's dressing as a woman, she might want to dress up as a man. And then it's,
I did think together. I thought you would have Kim be a male for her costume. Wow.
You're 5 for 5 so far.
I'm pretty impressed with myself. I didn't think I'd do this well.
I've got 12 more. I'm just kidding.
I'm screwed.
I've got one more.
It's like your last one is like, who did Arturo dress as?
He dressed up as Arturo from Sliders from the TV show, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Batman.
Okay. So we're running low on characters here. Mm-hmm. My first thought is Chuck, because he sits in the dark in his house, so he's got his own bat cave because he doesn't have the electricity. And Chuck is kind of more of a brooding, serious figure, and he sees himself as heroic. Oh no, you haven't confirmed it yet.
Well, Chuck, I mean, he's not into the silly kids' books.
Yeah, but I mean, is he at the Halloween party?
I don't know.
He's got to dress as something.
I'm not saying.
Yeah. Wait, so who was it?
It was Nacho. Just think about it. He's like probably in his 30s. The show takes place in the early 2000s. Tim Burton's Batman would have come out when he was in his early, like 13 or 14. Yeah. How could you not get that?
Suddenly your justifications aren't good. I don't like them once I get it wrong.
Well, 5 out of 6 though. That's pretty great.
Yeah. I wonder how the listeners did.
I mean, that's it for my game.
That was a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
I was there. I could picture it.
Right, and that's what I wanted. I wanted this to be theater of the mind.
Yeah, and it gets you in the Halloween spirit. What better way to get in the Halloween spirit than to actually see yourself at a Halloween party with all your favorite characters?
Right, and that's what I'm going to be doing on Halloween: closing my eyes and pretending I'm at a Halloween party. Hi, Jimmy. Will you be my friend too?
Oh, Chuck, you dressed up as a lawyer. How creative.
That's great. Nacho, is it cool? Is it okay if I also dress up as Batman? Oh, sorry. That was yeah, you're right. That was stupid.
Well, if that was a little depressing, but I have a game that's going to lift your spirits right up. All right? Now, in this game, we're going to be matching actors from Better Call Saul with horror movies that they have appeared in. All right? So I'm going to name a horror movie. I'll tell you a little bit about it. And I'll give you multiple choice, right, of different actors from Breaking Bad. And you have to tell me which one of those actors was in that horror movie. You get it?
Yeah.
All right.
Now, I know movies. I'm a big movie buff.
Yeah, you are. So I really wanted to try to stump you with these. And the listeners can play along. All right? So give them a second to think. So our first movie is from 2015. I had never heard of it before. And you feel free to tell us about the movie if you know anything about it. It's called Freaks of Nature.
Oof, I don't know this one.
Freaks of Nature. In the town of Dilford, humans, vampires, and zombies were all living in peace until the alien apocalypse arrived. Now, the 3 teenagers, 1 human, 1 vampire, and 1 zombie, have to team up to figure out how to get rid of the visitors.
That's a real movie?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's got like a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay. It's more than Venom.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me think. Oh, wait, so you're going to give me multiple... Oh, before you even give me the choices,
sure.
If I just start to think this through, this sounds like that premise is so crazy that if this movie was at all in the public eye, I think it would be really well known just because of how bonkers it is. So the fact that I've never heard of it makes me think this is really low budget, very unknown. So I got to think none of the big actors. There's no, like, Walter White is not in this. I've got to think it's somebody that's lesser known. So that's my thought process going into the multiple choice.
All right. Good. That's a fair thought process. And I'll just say this as a disclaimer. We're only talking about Better Call Saul characters.
Oh, so definitely not Bryan Cranston.
Yeah. All right. Option A, Bob Odenkirk, also known as Saul Goodman or Jimmy McGill or Gene. Option B, Vincent Fuentes, also known as Arturo, Nacho's buddy who got killed by Gus's henchmen. Option C, Josh Fadem, he's the camera guy on Jimmy's film crew. He's the one with like the black hair and the thick frame glasses. All right?
Okay.
Option D, Michael Mondo, also known as Nacho.
Okay, I have my answer. Before I say it, this is my thought, is that it sounded like the premise, there's a lot of children or younger people involved in this. So I'm going to go with option C, the kid from the film crew. Wait, that means I got it, right?
You get partial credit. This was a trick question, fool.
They were all in it.
Close. Bob Odenkirk was in it too.
Oh, wait, so I was not wrong then.
You were half wrong or half right, depending on what kind of person you are. So yeah, Josh Fadem, who's the Jimmy's cameraman, was in that movie. And Bob Odenkirk apparently had a small role.
Do you think that was a favor to him because of the Better Call Saul connection?
There must be a connection, right? It would be too weird, too much of a coincidence.
So this could be one of the things we do in the off season while we're waiting for Better Call Saul to come back. We can watch this movie and do a recap.
Maybe. Depends how prominent of a role they have.
Well, let's see what else is coming up. What other movies? And now I know that there's curveballs in here where it could be multiple answers.
That was the. I'll say this. That was the only. That was the only real trick question.
Okay.
All right. Next. But this is an obscure one. I don't think there's any way you know this. Have you heard of a 2009 short film? Okay, so this is almost 10 years ago. A short film called Everything Happens in Black and White. In this short film, we see a terrifying home invasion. Fear and pain set the tone as a ruthless intruder gets what he wants. The question for you is, which one of these 4 actors served as a production assistant in this short film? All right, who had their humble beginnings in this 2009 film?
All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
Ray Campbell, a.k.a. Tyrus.
Okay.
Rhea Seehorn, a.k.a. Kim.
Yep, I knew that one.
Carrie Condon, who plays Stacy Ehrmantraut, so Mike's daughter-in-law.
Or Adam. I interned as a production assistant.
Yeah, fun fact. Or D, Abigail Zoe Lewis, a.k.a. Kaylee.
And who is C?
Carrie Condon, Stacy Ehrmantraut.
All right, here's my thought process. Very similar to the first one. You said this was 2009. That's not that long ago. So whoever it was...
Almost 10 years.
Oh, that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, well, Kaylee would have been... Would she have even been born yet? I'm going to say no.
She was 2 or 3 at the time.
All right, so I can write that one off.
Yeah, so she wasn't a production assistant.
And A was Tyrus?
Tyrus, yep. Ray
B,
Campbell.
Remind me, B was...
Rhea Seehorn, Kim.
And C was... Okay.
Stacy.
I'm going to go with B, Kim. I knew it.
Yeah.
I just had a feeling.
Kim, one of the stars of the show, had humble beginnings on this short film. About what sounds like it probably would be unpleasant. Who would want to watch a short film about a home invasion? The summary says an intruder gets what he wants.
I mean, you could do the same thing with Breaking Bad. Who would want to watch a show about a meth cook?
I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, Everything Happens in Black and White, 2009. It could be a foreshadowing to Gene, which is also in black and white.
So 2 questions. I've got 1.5 points. Versus you have 5 points from your game.
Yeah, I was 5 for 6. You're 1.5 for 2.
Okay.
So I'm still ahead proportionally.
And how many questions do you have?
I have
107.
4.
4, okay. 4 more or just 2 left?
2 left.
Okay. Oh, so I
All right.
can't win.
You know the math better than I do.
Okay.
All right. Next. A obscure movie from 1984 known as Gremlins.
Oh!
A boy inadvertently breaks 3 important rules concerning his new pet and
Don't
unleashes...
feed them after midnight or get them wet.
or unleashes a horde of malevolently mischievous monsters on a small town. I didn't even need to read the synopsis. We all know Gremlins.
Yeah. The best Christmas movie besides Die Hard.
Yeah. Widely regarded as such. All right. So, which one of these actors, okay, portrayed... You know what? I won't say what kind of role they portrayed.
Okay.
I'll just ask you which actor was in it.
I have a feeling it's Chuck, but I'll hear the choices.
Okay. We have Brandon K. Hampton, also known as Ernesto.
He would have been too young.
The movie was about kids.
Yeah, but he might not have. I don't think he was born yet.
All right. Yeah, he was born in 1990. That was a trick.
Nice.
So the movie came out in 1984. All right, so you've eliminated one. But this is a multiple choice. This multiple choice has 10 possibilities. So
Okay.
no, I got three other options here, okay? Now that we've eliminated that one, I'll say that which of these three actors portrayed a deputy officer, okay, a policeman in the movie?
Okay.
Mark Margolis, a.k.a. Hector Salamanca.
All right.
Giancarlo Esposito, Gus.
Mm-hmm.
Or Jonathan Banks, Mike.
Ooh, so obviously I want to say Mike because of the cop connection.
Right.
I'm going to say Mike because of the cop connection.
Answer is D.
Jonathan
Mike,
Banks.
Because of the cop connection. Jonathan Banks played Deputy Brent Fry. He was one of the highest ranking officers in the Kingston Falls police force. So he was he was there trying to tell his superiors about the invading gremlins. He also seemed like a rather kind of laid back, lazy guy who got bossed around by his superior, Frank Kelly.
Mike, what happened to you? Gremlins? Wait,
no
so
half gremlins.
Better Call Saul takes place in the Walking Dead, X-Files, and Gremlins universe.
Right, it's at the nexus of all the supernatural phenomena of the world.
Oh, I love that you just said that. The nexus. Yeah. That's a Halloween thing.
Yeah, it is.
So one more question, right?
Yeah, but I do have some more fun facts about Jonathan Banks. This is not his first flirtation with fear and horror. You know Tales from the Crypt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the Crypt Keeper.
I don't think so.
No, okay.
But in this 1989 to 1996 show, which featured basically short films or like short stories, Tales from the Crypt, that all had horror themes, Jonathan Banks was in that. I don't know how many episodes he was in, but I know he appeared on it at some point.
So much buildup. Why couldn't you could have just said?
Hold on, let me find out, because it didn't occur to me when I was putting this together. Like, oh wait, it ran for a long time. Yeah. Hold on, let me figure out his involvement right now. Okay, he was in one episode.
He was in one episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Hold on. Jonathan Banks starred in a 1994 episode of Tales from the Crypt called The Assassin, in which a happy housewife is pitted against 3 CIA agents who have come to kill her husband, a supposed rogue agent.
That's a weird premise for a Tales from the Crypt episode. That was a horror show, and this is an assassin tries to kill someone. That's not scary. It's like a thriller.
Corey Feldman was in that episode too. You know, this was later in the series. This was 1994. It could have gone, it could have grown into something a little different.
They were running out of ideas.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know, this episode, let's get Mike buys a computer and they can't figure out how to turn it on.
And here's another one. Not quite horror, but I knew you'd be really happy to hear this. All right?
Yeah.
Let me also look up exactly what role he played first.
All right, you're editing this one.
Yeah. Damn it. Oh, okay. Ready?
All right.
Jonathan Banks also does the voice of Commissioner Jim Gordon in Batman Arkham Knight, the 2015 video game.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
For those of you unaware, Batman's my favorite superhero. So, I don't know why I didn't say this earlier when I mentioned Batman, Nacho dressing up. Batman is my favorite superhero. So this is exciting.
Yeah, and this is a nice crossover with our new podcast, Gil Reads Comics. So if you like this fun fact, you'll love that podcast.
Yeah.
Right. So he plays Commissioner Gordon. That's big. Yeah. So that was in the 2015 video game. And that game also featured voice actors from The Walking Dead and Friday Night Lights. So it's a big production.
Batman, you cut it out, Batman. The city's... The Joker's out there. You know?
Yeah, so seems like Jonathan Banks has lots of experience playing law enforcement.
That's the takeaway.
Yeah, that's what I learned. All right. And this is the last one, okay? So you're 2.5 for 3.
All right.
Now, this is a 1997 crossover between live action and animation film called Casper, A Spirited Beginning.
Oh, I remember that movie. Wait,
Really?
no. I'm thinking of the original Casper movie. Is this like a straight-to-DVD sequel?
I don't know what kind of release it had. It has 4.6 out of 10 stars on IMDb, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was straight to VHS.
Keep finding these weird movies that...
Wait, but it had Rodney Dangerfield in it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Casper tells the story of how he became such a good-natured ghost.
All right.
So it's the Casper origin story. Which one of these Better Call Saul actors was in the film? All right. A. Michael McKean, also known as Chuck. B. Jeremiah Bitsui, Victor. Okay. Gus's henchman. C. Eileen Fogarty, also known as Ms. Nguyen, from the nail salon. Okay. Or D. Patrick Fabian, Howard Hamlin.
All right. I have a guess. When I think of Casper, I think of a big house. And Michael McKean played Chuck, who died in a big house.
For completely, totally backwards logic, you're correct.
I was right.
Michael McKean, Chuck, was in Casper, A Spirited Beginning, the 1997 film.
Wow, I must have an instinct for this.
I think you do. You haven't even heard of most of the movies on this list. So he played Bill Case, who was a supporting antagonist in the film. He was a professional bomber hired to blow up the Applegate mansion.
That was
I think
in
he wears
Casper?
yeah, that was in Casper. He
Was
wears
a
like a
bomber?
funny like red beret too on his head.
Oh. For some reason, I thought you were going to say he wears like a bomb vest.
I guess that would make sense if he was a bomber.
Yeah.
I don't think he blows himself up.
I don't
He's
know
a
why I
professional
thought
bomber.
That
not a
would have been
suicide
dark
bomber.
for a Casper movie.
Yeah. Wait, but look, he's drunk. He's gonna bomb a house, and then in Better Call Saul, he burns a house. That can't be an accident.
So, Better Call Saul takes place in the Batman, X-Files, Gremlins, Walking Dead, and Casper universes. The Nexus.
And everything happens in black and white, the 2009 short film universe.
Well, that one's less impressive because it's just a home invasion.
Yeah,
There's
and
no,
also
like,
Kim was
ghosts
just the
floating
PA on it.
Right. Hey, hold on. Don't say just a PA. Humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings.
I was a PA once, actually.
Really?
On a short film.
Which one?
I don't remember what it was called, but it involved a kid that passed away, and his mom came to the school. And I remember, I still feel bad thinking about this. So the camera was going to pan over to the entrance. The woman walks in crying. And I was supposed to give the woman the signal that the camera's panning over and it's time for her to walk in. And it's really intense because she's getting herself all psyched up to be sad and depressed. And the cameraman, he says, "Gil, I'll give you the signal when you give her the signal." The cameraman, the director, actually, who just was also holding the camera, he looked at me, and in my head, I was like, is that the signal? I don't know. So I just got this deer in headlights look, and then looked at the woman, and she looked all confused. And I was like, and like pretended to start crying and walked in, and she was all thrown off. And I feel like I messed up the movie.
Yeah. Sounds like you did.
Yeah. That was my one time as a PA.
Wow. See, Rhea Seahorn did it a little better than you.
Yeah, I mean, hers clearly led into a career. Mine, you know what? If I didn't do that, maybe I wouldn't be podcasting right now.
True. No regrets.
Well, speaking of personal anecdotes, I thought that, we spent a lot of time talking about Better Call Saul. I thought this could be a good episode. We're talking about Halloween to talk about ourselves a little bit. And I thought a fun thing to do would be if we each talked about our favorite costume that we ever wore. End off the episode with one of our best Halloween memories. Adam, why don't you tell us about your best costume, your favorite costume that you wore?
All right. This is the one I enjoyed the most. So I imagine most listeners are familiar with Green Man from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Right. So he's basically a character which you can embody by simply wearing this. It's basically a green spandex suit that covers your entire body. It covers all your fingers, your feet, your face. You just step into it and zip it up from the back, and you are just one flat colored green thing that's human shaped. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's very freeing because you can see through the fabric, but just every inch of you is covered. But I also knew it's Halloween. I was like 23 years old. I was going to be going to all these parties. So I was like, you can't drink through the mesh of the mask. Again, it would be like putting just spandex on your face and trying to drink through it. It's impossible. So I went to Home Depot and got this long flexible plastic tubing, or like PVC tubing. Mm-hmm. And I taped it to my cheek, like right by my mouth, where I could like move my lips over and get a seal. Right. And then I had a system of tape going all the way, and this was under the costume, okay? Going all the way around my cheek, down my back, down my arm, along the underside of one of my fingers, okay? And I poked a little small hole in the costume and let the tube just barely stick out of the fingertip. So if you were to look at me, you would never know that I had this elaborate tubing system, this series of tubes under my costume. And so I could just hold a cup in my hand, and you would never notice that I just had the tip of my finger just barely sitting inside the cup. And I'm just drinking it.
So your friends don't see you have a drink all night, and then all of a sudden you collapse.
Yeah. So I was just progressively getting, a little tipsier, and the level of my cup was just getting lower and lower. You had no idea what was happening. So you had a tube for the input. Do you have a tube for the output as well? Thankfully, I didn't need one.
Wow, that's
yeah.
awesome.
So that was fun, and I wasn't like keeping it secret. So when people found out, that was hilarious.
Adam is like MacGyver. He does stuff like this all the time. He always finds clever ways of. I remember one time you sent us a picture where your apartment was really hot, so you rigged up a system where you had your blanket like strapped to a fan, and you basically were like laying down in a wind tunnel.
Yeah, I made because I can't sleep without a blanket or a sheet over me. So I set up the fan at the base of the bed and like made a wind tunnel where the fan it created a bubble. Like if you ever played like indoor tennis during the winter where they make a bubble outside, it was just like that. So I could sleep under a bubble of a sheet that was being kept inflated with the air and just keeping me cool at the same time.
Wow.
But I have more to add about this costume.
Oh, okay.
So I was 23, so I forgot that I was legally allowed to drink. Because I had only had that right for 2 years. So I'm at this house party, and the police show up. So I don't know if it was because of a noise complaint. It definitely could have been. But I go for my instincts, which so I run out of the house. I go out the backyard and I find like a little kind of like side exit from the house that it's like this narrow thing between a fence and the wall of the house. And there's also like stuff sticking out from like AC units and things like that. And it's this really rocky terrain. And I can't see anything because I have this mask, this spandex covering my face.
Right.
Everything's dark and tinted green. And on top of that, there's no light. It's the middle of the night. And so I'm running from the police who I've done nothing illegal at all.
And you yell into the police. You're like, look into your heart. Look into your heart.
Yeah. Yes, I start pleading for my life. So I'm running through this little narrow alley. And by the way, this costume's got no pockets. That was the one downside.
You have no reason to be running right now.
I have no reason to be running. I can't see anything. I can barely breathe. I'm like puffing through the costume. And on top, the worst part is I got no pockets, so I'm holding my phone in my hand. All right?
And so if anybody saw you, it's Halloween, and they see a green figure just running around like a maniac.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking clearly. And so I trip on like a rock or a branch or something like that in the dark. All right? So this gets worse. That image you just created. Now imagine the same thing, except my costume is all torn up. It's ripped on both knees and both hands. There's blood pouring out of me. Okay, both my hands were bleeding. My phone screen cracked for the first time. I'd always looked down on people who had cracked phone screens, and now I was one of them. And so now I'm running in the dark with bloody hands, a ripped costume, and a cracked phone screen. And then 5 seconds later, I'm like, wait a minute. What am I running for? This isn't my house. I'm allowed to drink, and I'm an idiot.
Now, might that have been a result of too much of sticking your finger straw into one too many beers?
Well, if that's what you want to call it. Yeah, I think it was. That was probably part of it. But also, you would think alcohol makes someone a little more relaxed, not more paranoid.
Yeah.
I think it was just my cautious personality.
Right.
I just didn't want to get in trouble.
And then I did the same thing next year. Green man running around.
Yeah, so but see, at least I wasn't one of those people who let my phone screen just stay broken for months. I got it fixed the next day.
So I told you MacGyver just fixes things.
Well, I didn't fix it. I just took it to the mall.
Well, I don't have a story as good as that one. So to make up for it, instead of telling you my favorite costume, I'm going to tell you my least favorite, and then I'll tell you my favorite.
Oh, nice.
My least favorite costume is in high school. I was going to wear a leather jacket I was a senior in high school, right? So we were allowed to wear costumes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to wear a leather jacket and pretend to be like an 80s cool guy. And I was kind of shy in high school, so I was afraid. I had some jitters wearing a costume, right? So I walked into the front of the school wearing my leather jacket, and then I got too nervous. So I took it off and I ran and stuffed it in my locker before anyone saw me.
And then you tripped and you were bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
Wait, so that's it? You just put it away?
Yeah, I didn't wear it.
And the rest of your clothing was normal?
Yeah, just normal clothing.
Okay, so you were just not wearing a costume that day.
That was my least favorite costume.
Wow. You've grown a lot since then.
Well, fast forward 3 years. I'm in college. Now my favorite costume. I printed out a picture of my own face.
Oh, yeah.
And I strapped it to my face. And I wore that.
Wait, so both years you were yourself for Halloween?
Pretty much. Some people thought it was hilarious. I remember one person, I was walking in the hallway and I bumped into this girl dressed up as Rogue from X-Men. Mm-hmm. And she looks at me and she goes, "I don't get it." And then I took the mask off and she saw that it was my face. And then she goes, "Oh." And then rolled her eyes and walked away.
Really?
Yeah. That was my favorite costume.
Wow. I like that idea. That's a good costume.
So I don't think neither of our costumes were really spooky.
Yeah.
Right? Or in the Halloween spirit. So I thought maybe bonus story. I could tell a scary, real life story, and we can end off on that. Get in kind of the spooky mood.
Let's do it. I want to feel goosebumps.
All right. Now, I'm a skeptic, right? I don't believe in ghosts, things like that, but that wasn't always true. When I was younger, I had a run-in with an apparition. So I was maybe three or four. And Adam, who he was just recently born, so you were a baby.
Yeah, I remember.
This is partially your fault, actually, what happens next. I woke up, and I had to go to the bathroom. You see, I was very mature for my age. Most kids would have wet the bed.
We're very impressed, Gil.
Okay, so I get out of bed, and I don't know why, but for some reason I felt the need to go tell my mom that I woke up. I don't know why I had to tell her, but she kept the crib right next to her bed, so I couldn't get close to her, and I was afraid I was going to wake you up. So I walk into her bedroom, and the floor's creaking every step I take, so I'm really nervous. I'm walking very slowly.
Because that's where the bathroom is.
Oh, is that why I went in there? To use her bathroom, maybe?
I think so. I think that's the main one that we used, even though there was another one right next to it. But I remember not using it very often as a kid.
Maybe we were forbidden. Like we weren't supposed to use the blue bathroom. That bathroom was primarily blue, I remember.
Yeah.
Well, I stood next to the crib, and I was basically afraid to move because every time I moved, it would make a creaking noise.
Yeah.
And then I looked up at the window shade, and I noticed my shadow starts moving on its own. Starts dancing.
Whoa.
Kind of like it's put its arms out and starts like shifting them from side to side.
Oh, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, I was so scared I couldn't move. And then after like 30 seconds of watching the shadow dance, I sprinted out of the room back to bed.
Wow. Did you wet the bed?
I don't know. I don't remember what happened. I'm sure I stopped at the bathroom on the way back.
That's creepy. How vividly do you can you picture this?
I remember, pretty vivid. I remember the feeling of standing there so scared. But years later, I had a part 2 memory of what happened next. So
just more memory just came up.
It just appeared. And it kind of sheds some light on what might have happened in the first part of the memory. So I walked out of the bedroom, and before I got back to my bed, at the top of the stairs, I saw our older brother. And in front of me, he changed appearance. He turned into a clown. And then he melted down the stairs into like a puddle of liquid. Which makes me think that the first part might have been a dream.
Maybe.
A nightmare.
Wait, is that true? That second part? That's actually a memory that
I remember that, yeah.
Wow.
But lately, in the last 2 or 3 years, I've been having these recurring nightmares where it's sort of a sleep paralysis thing. It usually happens if I'm sleeping somewhere outside my own apartment. Like even if I go home to visit, our family home, I'll sort of wake up in the middle of the night and I can't move. So I'm kind of half awake. And then out of the corner of my eye, in the dark, I'll see a figure slowly approaching my bed. And I try and call out to say, who is that? But I can't really move my lips or anything, so it sort of just comes out like, and then I'll notice, it's my brother. And it'll be one of my brothers. So the first time I had this dream, it was Daniel. That's our younger brother. And I was like, Daniel! And then as he gets real close, he comes out of the shadows. I can see his face is all disfigured. And then I wake up screaming.
Were you actually screaming?
Yeah, I'll wake up actually screaming.
Wow.
The first time it happened, after I woke up, I heard a woman screaming outside. Like every few seconds, I would just hear this woman scream.
Yeah.
And so I'm freaked out when I wake up, and then I hear that, and then I realize it was a fox.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard a fox outside, and I thought a woman was being murdered.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I had that same nightmare, except it was you. But when you got real close, you looked like a tall version of Dobby the house elf from Harry Potter.
Are you making fun of my ears?
No. Well, and the funny thing is, so every time I have this nightmare, it's a different brother. And I have 4 brothers. So eventually I got through all 4, and I was wondering what happens the next time I have this nightmare. It was my dog.
Was it really?
Yeah.
That's funny because I was just going to say it's probably going to be Dexter.
Yeah, I just felt like his heavy breathing on my face.
Huh.
And then I woke up screaming.
Wow. You might want to see a doctor.
Yeah. Well, the other night, I had a dream that Better Call Saul had its season finale, and I would have to wait an entire year for the next episode. And I woke up screaming.
I do have another memory of yours.
Really?
Yeah, that might be kind of spooky.
Oh, okay.
Didn't you used to see worms in your spaghetti?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot about this. I had a big problem when I was a kid. I couldn't eat. It wasn't just spaghetti. It was anything. I remember that the doctor told me I was lactose intolerant the week of free ice cream day at nursery school.
Oh,
so I had to skip ice cream day. And then my mom tried to get
that
me.
That would only happen to Gil.
Yeah. My mom tried to get me to have soy milk because I loved cereal. So instead of regular milk, she gave me soy milk. And my brain was so messed up at the time that when she poured the milk into the bowl, I saw it full of like insects and bugs, flies. And I couldn't eat. There was just a lot of foods I couldn't eat because I would literally just see bugs on them. Like waffles would just be insects on them.
That is literally crazy.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't happen anymore. I just eat the insects. I just look past it.
Wouldn't you would spaghetti have worms in it, or it was just worms?
No, I don't remember actually ever seeing worms in my spaghetti. It just reminded. That was another problem. Even if I didn't see bugs, if it reminded me of anything else, I couldn't eat it. So spaghetti reminded me of worms. If I ate spaghetti, I would vomit.
What if when you went to like those haunted houses and they're like, now put your hand in the bowl and feel the worms, and you're like, what? It just feels like spaghetti.
Well, the weirdest one, the weirdest one is I went to a haunted house and I saw a monster that was this kind of light shade of brown, which was the same color as Eggo waffles. I couldn't eat waffles anymore.
Wow.
And I couldn't eat cream cheese because it's the same color as skeletons.
Wow. I don't know what you could have eaten.
I'm trying to remember. Like I couldn't eat apples because when you cut an apple and you get those kind of thick slices of apple, if you hold 2 of them next to each other and kind of part them slightly, it looks like the wings of a cockroach.
I can picture it. Yeah. It must have been a nightmare trying to feed you.
Oh yeah. No, I remember crying to my mom. I was like, I can't even eat apples.
Was it reach into your heart? Didn't you look it up later and say you read apparently it's kind of common for kids to like hallucinate like nasty stuff about their food?
I told you that, but in reality, I saw an episode of the reboot of Twilight Zone where there was this therapist that had the ability to take on the mental disabilities of children. So he would cure you, but then he would take it on himself. And one of the ones he took from this kid couldn't eat because he saw insects on everything. So the therapist infected himself with that. So the kid was fine, but then this doctor had to just eat food, seeing it covered in insects all the time. So I just took from that episode that this must be a common thing that kids deal with.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So you've been lying to me
for years. I'm Gil.
I'm Adam.
Happy Halloween. Thanks for listening to this episode of Saulcast. Adam and I are big fans of Halloween, so we always knew that we wanted to do an episode of this show celebrating the holiday while celebrating the show that we all love. Stay subscribed to this feed because we'll be doing more episodes of Saulcast. We'll talk about predictions for future seasons. We'll do some deep dives on some of our favorite characters, talk about some of the connections with Breaking Bad, and if there's any news about Better Call Saul, about the upcoming season, we'll talk about that too. So stay tuned for more.
And please, if you want to reach out to us, you have any questions or comments, literally for any reason at all, you can always tweet us at SaulcastPod or shoot us an email at saulcastbros@gmail.com.
And I have taken the reins on that Twitter account. Adam was sort of leaving it dormant. So if you follow us, you'll be seeing a lot more tweets every day. There'll be a lot of good fan interaction. And you can follow Gil Reads Comics, the Twitter associated with the other podcast that we just started. As our world hangs in the balance, two heroes have been charged with one simple mission: recap and review comic books. On today's episode, we're talking about Amazing Spider-Man Issue 1. Only problem is, one of them has never read a comic book in his life. You've never read one of the comics?
No.
Wow, okay.
I've seen a physical book before, but I just looked at the cover.
But don't worry, Gil has done the research, and he'll help them along the way. Oh yeah, by the way, Peter Parker. He's Spider-Man.
Okay.
The drama. Because we need those stories to get through the day, through the hard times. This is my story, the one I play in my head while everything goes wrong. The action. He sees him in lizard form, he starts freaking out. He starts telling everybody, don't panic.
Spider-Man, I will stop you with my black goo.
I'm not sure what that was, but hey, there's movie news too. Venom. Coming to a theater near you this Friday. Are you gonna see it?
Eventually.
Gil Reads Comics. Available in the Apple Podcasts app or any other podcast app today. Just search Gil Reads Comics. That's Gil Reads Comics. See the show notes for a link.